What is up, fight fans? I am Jason Burgos for Sportsnaut.com, and I'm joined by a favorite of mine, a man coming off of a filthy 59-second knockout at UFC Austin. He's a longtime UFC veteran and Michigan's own, the Spartan, aka Cody Stamann. Senor Spartan, thanks so much for the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Now, your development as a striker has progressively gotten better during your time in the UFC. Anybody who's been watching you has seen it. Yet, your TKO over Eddie Wineland last week in Texas was your first in the UFC, your first TKO since back-to-back like 5 years ago. How important was winning in that way in terms of like just sending a message to the division and kind of just all that hard work you've put into your striking just kind of finally paying off for all the world to see?
Yeah, I mean, it was really important that I become a striker again. Really, in reality, I have a lot of boxing accolades. Like, I trained with a lot of really good kickboxers. My striking is actually, I think, the best part of my game. But for some reason, I just kind of chose to take the safe route in the UFC, and I wrestled a lot. And I kind of got branded as a wrestler. And in reality, I don't really see myself as a wrestler, period. You know what I mean? And to finally get that monkey off my back and kind of have that confidence to go out there and just really throw and really figure it out, felt amazing. And I think moving forward, that's the way I need to fight every fight from here on out.
Now, this fight with Wineland was reportedly the last on your contract, and in an interview with All Access MMA that you recently did, you talked about that you plan to re-up with the UFC, and I have like a lot of questions about that. First, going into this fight, was there any like understanding between like your management team and the UFC? Like, look, you beat Eddie, we're gonna give you a new offer, expect that. Or was it kind of like more like radio silence that you really weren't quite sure what your future would be after this fight?
Oh, I wasn't sure. I mean, there's no guarantees in MMA, period.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know that as an athlete, but in my position, I knew that it was win or die with Eddie Wineland. You know what I mean? I knew that if I didn't get it done, that I wasn't going to be fighting in the UFC any longer, and that I'm not sure where my career would go. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what happens? So, I mean, I think I had, absolutely all the pressure you could have on myself as an athlete to really get it done in that instance. And, I treated my training camp and everything as such. You know what I mean? I don't really shy away from the pressure. I'm not gonna be one of those guys that pretends everything's so much. Hey guys, could you guys quiet down? Mom, I'm doing an interview. Just
Come on, Mom.
Could have come over here and sat right next to me as I. Anyways.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was saying, before my mom interrupted me.
Come on, Mom. Damn.
Just kidding. Just giving me a look right now, like, oh, shit. Yeah, I mean, I knew what it was. I mean, I knew that if I didn't get it done that time, it was done. You know what I mean? And honestly, you had those thoughts in your head. You're like, what am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
What's next? And the reality is like, I still love fighting. I still love doing this, and I still believe that I can compete with anyone. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, you have one last opportunity. You cannot make a mistake this fight. You got one last opportunity to make this happen and to turn this shit around, or it's over. And I knew that going into that.
For this new contract that you're re-upping with the UFC, is there a raise? Is there some kind of upgrades on some level? Or because like the recent losses you had, it kind of like hurt your leverage a little bit when it comes like contract negotiation time?
Oh, I got a raise.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The UFC has always been really good to me. I mean, really, I think this is my fourth UFC contract. And, with that, I think I've always been good to them too. You know what I mean? Every time they bring me a fight, I say yes. Every single time. I've never said no to the UFC. Every single fight I've said yes to. So I've taken a lot of fights against guys that no one else wants to fight. You know what I mean? I've taken a lot of risky fights in my career, and I've done that because of self-belief, because I really don't think that when I'm hitting on all cylinders, there's a lot of people out in the world that can beat me. And the way I felt going into the fight Saturday night, like, I really meant it when I said, like, I didn't think anyone could beat me that night. It wouldn't matter who it was. There was I heard a rumor that Wineland might not have been healthy going into the fight. So, like, somebody said that, and I was like, well, is he, you know what I mean? Is he not going to fight? And then, that ended up being a false rumor. But they're like, well, what are you gonna do? If it ends up being someone else, I'm like, I don't care who it is. I really don't care. Like, I don't care who they put in there. You know what I mean? If they want me to fight at a different weight class, like, I don't care. Like, June 18th, I'm gonna hurt somebody, and I'm gonna get this shit back on track.
And considering, like you mentioned, like, a good relationship you kind of have with the UFC on both sides. That said, going in knowing this is the last fight, especially coming off of such an outstanding win. I mean, you had a great career, great record, long UFC resume, a lot of good wins. The only losses are like to elite level guys, one of them being the current champion. Did that on some level, in your prime, was there ever a thought like, let me go test my value? I came off the win. I took the risk. They didn't want to bet on me before and give me a contract before this fight. I proved that, I'm a well-rounded fighter, top level fighter. Was there any thought like, hey, coming off this win, let me go test the value. Let me see what the world can offer me. Maybe there is more money out there for me.
No. I didn't have any. I wasn't thinking about fighting anywhere else, because the reality is that UFC is the apex of MMA, and everyone can argue that, and they can say that there's other promotions that do other things, but my relationship, and I'm just going on what I have, like my relationship with the people at the UFC Performance Institute, and the relationship that I've had with the UFC, and the events that I do for the UFC, and all these other things that I do, like, it's been nothing but positive. I can't say one bad thing about the UFC as a whole. You know what I mean? Like, they've treated me with nothing but respect. So you have all these guys out here crying about how much money they make, but in reality, it's like, there's a lot of opportunities that come through the UFC, being a UFC fighter, to make money outside of fighting. And I don't see any other promotions promoting their fighters or fights the way the UFC does. So, I mean, if I'm gonna go to a different promotion, like, I mean, I look at it like, I mean, my career is over. You know what I mean? Like, I'm there, I'm hanging out for a paycheck at that point. You know what I mean? Like, the UFC is the apex. I mean, it is. And for me, there was no thoughts of going anywhere else. I knew I had to win, and I had to do it in a way that was exciting for fans, in a way that would make the UFC want to resign me. Like, it was like I was going to knock somebody out or get knocked out in that fight. Like, I was going to fight like a dog, and I trained like that. I trained to get in a real fist fight. Like, I wasn't going to make it pretty. It was just going to get ugly real fast.
While watching the fight again in the lead up to our conversation, Daniel Cormier really seemed to make a weird effort in a way to kind of diminish your win by saying that suggesting Eddie Wineland's inability to take a shot after a long career had an effect. And then Dominic Cruz kind of quickly tried to change the narrative, it's about Cody's power. He did something here. Then this guy Daniel kind of strongly again disagree. Oh no, it's Eddie and stuff like that. I know fighters have issues with the media, especially media that haven't been in the sport. But when it comes for another fighter like Daniel Cormier, kind of taking a shot at you and even Eddie in a way, is that bothersome? What are your thoughts on him kind of taking that route instead of just, hey, great win by Cody?
Daniel can say whatever he wants. You know what I mean? He gets paid to talk. I've been in the past, I felt like they disrespected me as an athlete. When I fought Tom Ducamma, I voiced that, and I basically said, these guys didn't give me any credit going into that fight. The whole time they talked about him. In the meantime, I'm winning this whole fight, and the whole time they're talking about him. And DC actually came to me and apologized. Said, dude, I'm sorry. You're right. I went and watched it, and you're right. I was talking too much about him, and the whole time you're winning this fight, and I wasn't talking enough about you. And he's like, and I won't do it again. I think DC was just trying to kind of hint at, it's time for Eddie to hang it up. You know what I mean? I think that's what he was, and that's none of my business. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that I think that's what DC was trying to get at. Hey, you know what I mean? Dude can't take any more big shots, and I didn't take that personally at all.
But in a weird way, does it? And that makes complete sense, and that's fair. But as a fighter, as a competitor, you know how hard you work. You know how good Eddie is. Is there kind of a part well, yeah, I did something too. I still knocked out Eddie Wineland. It would bother me. So it doesn't necessarily bother to in a way. It's still kind of diminished. Oh, Eddie's not as good or something. He can't take damage. Kind of taking away how much you did in that fight.
Yeah. Well, me personally, I probably knocked out 3 or 4 training partners in preparation for this fight. Yeah. So for him to say that, you know what I mean? And then for me to know that, I'm more than capable of knocking people out, exactly. It's but, DC gets paid to create content, you know what I mean, in those moments. And do I agree with everything he says? No. But do I really care? No. I feel like there's a lot of times in fights where they're talking about something that someone did. In the meantime, the fight's happening, and I'm like, especially at the apex, you know what I mean? I feel like that's where the judges can hear what they're saying. I think a lot of times that does sway the the audience. There's a lot of times if they're really talking about how good so and so's move is, or their takedowns are so good, and in the meantime, like, that dude's getting bopped up, and then he gets a takedown, and I wish that they called the fight more and talked less about the athletes. But I understand their job. I understand they're trying to get people to relate to what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, they're the best at what they do. There's no question about that. I don't want their job, and I don't think I could do it. But sometimes I definitely feel like they do sway an audience one way or another, and kind of talk them into like who they think wins. And sitting on the couch, being a couch quarterback, I'm like, you guys, like, watch the fight.
Yeah, I agree. After the fight, you mentioned some important stuff, that you said that this is the first time you felt like yourself in a long time, and it took a long time to get here. Even that, like, you feel like you only find that 30% of your ability recently. I don't remember any real stories about any issues or anything coming into the last few fights, though that stuff really never comes out anyway.
Yeah.
Can you?
I'm not gonna tell anybody that I'm feeling like shit.
Yeah,
right?
like, everybody's, I'm in the best shape I am, and then got like a torn ACL. But can you talk about what has been going on that's really hindered your performance the last couple of years, and like a really important time of your career, your prime?
It's, I think a lot of it started at UFC 250. You know what I mean? I kind of spiraled downwards after that, and that story. I don't want to tell it again, but.
Right.
Everything that happened in my personal life, I think I kind of spiraled down, and then things just like wasn't feeling good about anything that was happening around me. I mean, a lot of good things were happening in my life. I was buying homes, I was setting myself up for my future, and I was doing all these things, but I was just deep down, I wasn't happy. I wasn't loving what I was doing, and I think it really banged on my self-confidence, and it tore me up. And it took me a long time, kind of just being alone with my thoughts, to realize, like, hey, dude, like, do you really enjoy this shit? You know what I mean? And then I kind of got to a point, and really it was like everything almost being over. You know what I mean? Coming up on 3 losses in a row, and being like, oh, this shit's over. And you know what, dude? I haven't been myself in a long time. Like, this could be over. And then getting the Wineland fight, I was like, dude, this is my last shot. You know what I mean? I got to come back with the same tenacity that I had when I showed up in the UFC, like, ready to take everybody out, running to the top. I was in the top 10 in 6 months. Nobody talks about that. Like, I shot up the rankings, when I got into the UFC. Not many guys do that. Not many guys can say they've done that. The only other guy that I can think of that moved up that fast was Peter Yan. You know what I mean? Most guys have 7-8 fights before they ever think of touching the rankings. Like, I was doing it 3 fights in. I hadn't been in the UFC a year, so it's that just like raw, kind of almost arrogant confidence that I had, coming in, that I kind of had to find again, and that's really hard to do when things aren't going good. You know what I mean? And it just took a lot of just soul searching to kind of find that again, and to get that little swagger back. And I did, and I had it, going into that fight. Like, there was just no question, you know what I mean? Like, there was no doubts, you know what I mean? Like, fight day, I woke up and I was honed in. I knew what I had to do, and it was like almost like I know when I'm ready to fight, because I'm like chomping at the bit to get out there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting for them to open that door and be like, okay, we're walking. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then there's other times when I'm just like taking deep breaths, like, it's about to happen. You know what I mean? You're just like the nerves and the pressure and everything's kind of building up on me, and then. When I know I'm ready and I know that I'm hitting on all cylinders is when they open that door, and I like want to run through it.
and like, I saw a recent story, like, in a different industry, about how this person talked about, like, they had like a major passing of a close relative in their life, and they didn't like they didn't really realize how much it affected them until years
Yep.
later, and that you kind of just get through it. Also, an industry where it's about toughness and personal, just physicality. Like, was there a moment for you, maybe not even necessarily losses, where you kind of just sat down and not, didn't realize how much things were affecting you, and that there like a wake up call moment, like, wow, this is really bothering me deeper inside than I really realized, and it's affecting everything.
Yeah, there was, and it was a conversation I had with my sister.
Hmm.
She was, opening up about it and talking about how it was affecting her.
Yeah.
And, I was, basically trying to be a big brother and, tell her everything I thought that she needed to hear and listen to what she had to say. And then, like afterwards, I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and be like, dude, you have not really addressed this in your life. You kind of just like, you're like just going to try to be a man about it and just buckle down and just try to push all those emotions down and act like it doesn't affect you, but in reality, like it's clearly affecting you. It's affecting you in all aspects of your life, and like if you don't address it, you know what I mean, like what becomes of you as a man? Like it's gonna hinder you for the rest of your life, or are you gonna deal with this shit and find a way to not get over it, but to deal with it like more like progressive, positive way.
Yeah. Now, for what I think might be like the most important question of our conversation, and that is, what is the latest with the very awesome Achilles Stamann, and has he been a good boy?
He is the best boy. He's the best boy. I'm missing him right now. Every time I leave, I feel so terrible because I miss my damn dog. I used to be able to get him on the plane, so he went everywhere with me. He sat right in between my legs. And I got a 90-pound little lab sitting in between my legs. But they changed all the rules, and now I can't get him on the plane anymore. And I won't put him under the plane. Like I just couldn't do that to my dog.
Yeah.
So now I travel without him, and every single time I'm like, I wish my dog was here. We can go do this. But yeah, he's an awesome dog. We actually we adopted another dog.
Oh.
A dog from so they rescue dogs from Korea and they bring them to the U.S. It's a really cool deal, and we got a dog, and that's rescue dogs bring their own challenges, but honestly, it's such a great dog, and they're like best buddies. Achilles has like a little partner in crime, and they do everything together. It's cool.
So of course the big next question is what's next? I mean, you may not be ranked anymore, but you are a name in the division, were ranked for a very long time. So the idea of you getting a person maybe in the back end of the top 15 it totally makes sense. It should kind of happen. So I'm going to give you 3 names. See what's your interest level in them. The first one is a guy on the same card as you, fantastic fighter, also friend of mine, Adrian Yanez. What would be your interest in an Adrian Yanez fight?
I'll fight him. I'm not gonna say no. I'll fight him. I like his hands, man. I like him. I like the way he fights. He makes exciting fights. He's clearly tough. He was getting Randy Costa was kind of beating him up, and he buckled down and showed a lot of maturity as a fighter. Especially for as young as he is, to go out there and to pick it up and make shit happen in the next round. So yeah, I like the kid. I think he's got a lot of potential, but as far as all around MMA game, I think I dust him.
Well, here's another one then, and they fight this weekend coming up, UFC Vegas 57. The winner of Jack Shore and Ricky Simone.
Jack Shore, Ricky Simone. So I was actually slotted to fight Simone at one point. Simone's tough, man. Simone's really tough. I think Simone's going to win that fight against Jack Shore. Unless Jack Shore is a lot better than what I think or what I see. I don't know. The Jack Shore fight, that was a fight that I tried to get. I mean, I'll fight either one of them, but that's an interesting fight. That'll definitely be one I'm keeping an eye on.
And the last one, which I think is probably the one I can honestly see them making the most, and I think it, as a person that's been around this sport so long, I think maybe it might be the one that appeals to you most, Frankie Edgar.
Dude, I was about to say it before you said it.
Our minds are linked.
honestly, it would be a dream. It would be a dream to fight Frankie Edgar. I mean, it's an open yes all the time, and then that doesn't come from a place of I think Frankie's past his prime, or I think because he showed that he still got it. What I mean? It looked good. I mean, he was beating Cheeto, and then he got caught.
Yep.
You know, so for me, Frankie's still very dangerous, still very game. You know, as far as competitors go, like, you better really want to win when you get in the cage with Frankie Edgar. You know what I mean? You better be composed, and really have your shit together if you're going to go in there and fight Frankie Edgar. And I definitely would think about fighting him. I definitely want a lot of time if I'm going to fight Frankie Edgar, though, because I gotta be in the best shape of my life, because I know that guy is coming every single time you hit him. He's coming back with something. You know what I mean? So you really got to be, you got to have all your shit together, because he's a bad dude. He's a bad dude. And, you know, that's a pretty dangerous fight, as far as, you know, guys that are a little bit older. Frankie's still very dangerous. And, you know, if they offer me that fight, I wouldn't hesitate to say yes.